Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spar and Brawl. I hope you're having a decent day. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Sam. I'm back with a new episode of The Progressive World. It's not in my home right now, but I just had to do this one from the living room. So, yeah. Okay. So, as always, you can find timestamps down below, and please like and subscribe. All right, Sam. This was really fun, man. What did you make of this one? So, it's just a quick tease, as always, that we're doing. But The Rising did this really fun interview with Alan
This
Dershowitz. Oh, I'm trying to put all of them.
it was quite good. Yeah, I mean, well, it was quite a surprise because yeah, I didn't see. I mean, Alan does a lot of surprising inter. He came on Democracy Now all the time. So
Yeah. Oh my God. I wanted to pull that up. Okay. Just a photo of it at least. We'll do it
all
by the
right.
time we get to the segment. Yeah. Yeah. That was a classic. That studio was so, it was like they were in a phone booth.
Yeah, Norman Finkelstein and him were sitting like literally next to each other, like almost 2 centimeters apart. It was about to break into a scuffle or so. But yeah, I
That
mean,
was such awkward
really
room
am
for
not.
debate.
Yeah, I'm really not a big fan of Ryan Grimm these days, but I must say I was glad he brought up the Norman Finkelstein thing.
Yeah, that was
I mean, he
fun.
had good answers. Motherfucker has
Yeah.
always got his lawyered answers ready.
No,
So
but there were some funny observations. There's one point he kept on making, which is just so true and
yeah,
sad. But we'll get to that. But and what one last thing though, he kept on saying, "Yeah, you guys are asking me tough questions, and I'm answering them." I'm like, "Okay, take it easy." Like they weren't all that tough. They're like, what is this allegation? He's like, "Okay, you're asking me the tough
yeah.
questions." It's like, can
And
you
he was like,
introduce
"Thank you."
yourself? Oh, okay, okay.
Well, I
I
wouldn't.
mean,
Yeah,
no,
it
they
was
followed up
it
and
was
stuff. There
good.
was, it
It
was
was good.
good, but he
No, but
made,
at the end, yeah, he was like, "Yeah, thank you for asking tough questions. I'm always ready for them." Clearly practiced with his fucking other lawyers, like for 6 months, every statement for word was pre. Okay, it was so. I mean,
yeah,
the
it
motherfucker
was
is a.
impressive.
Yeah, he practices. You can gotta give him that, I guess.
Yeah, 84-year-old something, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, he was.
Uh,
I have the. He was so. He's not helping the Jewish cause, by the way. I have the receipts for my from my masseuse for like 16 years ago. What the fuck?
no, but
Uh,
yeah, he impressive, impressive. Okay, then we had another fun debate. Also, this one about student loan
Jesus,
cancellation.
they
Brianna,
again give
man,
a
but
goddamn warning before you that you pick like mutants basically. What the goddamn hell was that? Is he lizard? Is he man? What is he a man lizard? What is
man,
going on with the eyes?
but listen,
Yes.
I mean, Brianna, we have our differences with her approach. And in this video, again, she tells Robbie, you can't say that X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
Let me
man.
say why. But listen, she can win arguments. Eh? Like, I think if you're scoring these arguments, she's often winning all of them. I mean, for a,
Uh,
I mean, it's rare that like, host like her, has like that much knowledge and argument. I mean, at least in this area, she knew her stuff, or at least she knew every like fact that was presented. She knew like the counter position, like with the numbers
yes.
and everything.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in
I
this
would
one
say the Cali.
especially.
Yeah, the thing is the positions are so indefensible, first of all. And second of all, the caliber of man or woman, whatever that is. I don't know. Jeez, he got a scholarship. It's no, and then you tell me why like all the education system needs to be abolished. I swear to God.
But yeah, and what else? Chapo Trap House had a fun conversation about all kinds of loans and all that. I mean, sometimes I couldn't quite follow their
Fun.
examples, but yeah, it was a great video.
Yeah, fun. We'll talk about this. This
Yeah.
is really, I think this segment will negatively impact. I mean, it will bring a negative light on your work ethics, but whatever.
Okay. All right. Let's just do some viewer comments. Oh, but before okay, so
No,
we're in the
before that.
chit chat phase now, but before we actually do one or two of your comments, anything else to say about this? I just can't let it go. I kind of wish we were re-recording the content from last time, because it was just, this was too much fun, and the unheard video, that was really good too. If people
Yeah,
would check
we
that
gotta do
out.
more unheard stuff, hopefully. But
But yeah, anything else on this? Do you want to just
they gonna tonight they gonna do a live Q&A, so I'm looking forward to that.
Nah, don't be too
That's gonna be fun.
excited, because the, like we
Only people
mentioned,
who
they're in
pay can
denial.
ask. Oh, I thought they're okay. If they not, I don't know about their live Q&As, but I assume.
I think they're just going to be like, okay, you mean like, fine, they might get bombarded with the questions, then maybe, but otherwise, if there's just a few iron questions, they're just going to be like, thought it was fun, maybe we push back too hard a bit.
It was a spicy.
But yeah, but okay, fine. If we have nothing to say, let's move on to the
No,
viewer
I would
comment.
love to. I'm okay. I have something to say. Aaron's hair
No,
has improved. He has improved his hair. He's cut off the fringe part.
no, true. I mean, he
That
looks
was the
good in
part
this
I
video.
hated. No, that was the part I hated the most. The fake scissor cut of this. His hair would basically get too long and it get curls. Now it's cut it off, so I think that's
True.
nice. So
Looks good. All
another
right.
added
Fair enough.
comment.
But okay, so let's move on to this viewer comment by the one and only TCT.
Mm.
And so, I mean, this is actually about sorry, what did it come a bit smaller? Oh, there we go. So this is actually about the Vanguard video.
No,
But kinda. It's actually about the
yeah,
actual substance of
yeah,
the. So
yeah,
I don't. Do you want to
boring stuff.
summarize kind of what he's saying, what TCT is
Well,
saying?
he
I
says
can address point three, I guess.
in the first point, he says that he didn't even say the crimes in Vietnam were bad apples, Sam. He is straight up denied, implies them they're not happening later on the clip. No, I agree, but I don't think I mean, I think he's talking about the overwhelming majority in his view. So I think it's implied, but maybe not. I mean, his views. I mean, even if he thinks it's bad apples, it's quite stupid. It's and then secondly, it's
I
not
mean,
about
wait, hold on.
correcting every.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry.
But yeah, I mean, wait. I mean, I think I would say so. I guess we're clear that he, of course, denies that the military, like, kills people on purpose or does anything bad on purpose. The strategies might not be good at times or things, but yeah,
Yeah,
and they
it's
have
all
a
like
good heart
mistakes
and
or
a good will and like all of that. So I mean, yeah, that's his position. So I don't think there's
and
any
I do think he really
disbelief.
means military. He doesn't mean a State Department or like, yeah, you know what I mean? Because I've seen him talk about the globalists and Marxists and deep state. So
Yeah, I mean, there
I assume, you know what I mean? Like, I assume he just means the.
he goes from very
It's not funny.
practical
It's
on the
real.
ground to very theoretical high level suddenly.
Yeah, it's suddenly these Marxists are working together.
Living on the
Max, I
moon.
told you, Max, these globalists and Marxists suddenly becomes Alex Jones. Okay. So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
love how Marxist part of the whole globalist thing when yeah, it's just like, yeah, sure, man. It's not about correcting number two, sorry. It's not about correcting everything someone says. It's about correcting the record for new audience, i.e. to McGregor. I'm not debating you. I'm just correcting the record for our audience. I hope you understand. This is exactly they used for Trump accolades who go on MSM to spew alternative facts. So there's nothing new here. I'm not sure I get the point
I
here,
mean,
to be
okay. I mean, I
honest.
think he's saying that, okay, Aaron should have then added, okay, fine. I'm not debating. I'm just like correcting the record for audience. I hope you understand. I mean, it's a nice sentence, TCT, but again, I think it's
I guess you should say
unnecessary. I think the way Aaron
I'm
said
just
it, I mean, it
stating.
says all this like implicitly when he said, no, what about X, Y, and Z? Sorry, explicitly when he said, what about, he gave the examples about you, and here you're saying that America didn't commit any crime, and the guy's like, I don't want to debate you. I mean, to me, it was a natural end, and all of this, I'm not debating you, I'm just correcting for our audience. All of this was, implicitly, I felt sad once Aaron said, okay. I mean, I don't know, you get this from watching it. I don't understand why these additional
Yeah, I don't.
statements are really
I mean, look,
required.
I I'm gonna, I'm gonna reach into my deep knowledge from movies. And in movies, whenever there's like they're doing a strategy and it's clearly a stupid strategy, but then there's one guy who's like, okay, for the record, I want everybody to know that I oppose. You know what I mean? Just it's for the record. It's
Yeah,
so
true.
I
That's what
think
it's called
that's
for the record.
for the yeah, that's what I'm just saying for the record. I think that's if somebody does that for the record part, I'm happy. But then again, in my view, the best pushback you can provide is a specific reference,
Yeah,
which he
what
did
you
provide.
did.
So I can't think of any better, like he literally quoted
Uh-huh.
Kissinger. I don't know. And then I'm sure he would dispute that, but then how like better can you? So
Yeah.
okay, I don't know.
And
Maybe he
then
could have been more specific, I
and then this
guess.
is kind of linked to TCT's third point. He's like, there's a wrong assumption to think that, everybody on the audience is the same level of knowledge. There'll be newer audiences who wouldn't know and, think forever. What McGregor says is correct. Okay. I mean, that's taking it a bit too far. Like, yeah, sure, maybe some people, but even if you don't know, let's say you don't know too much at all, you're like very not into politics. I mean, Aaron Mante did push back, and that guy said, I'm not going to debate you. So to me, that's like Aaron came out the
Yeah,
winner. His point came out um the winner, if anything. So, and
two
of course
things.
people have different levels of knowledge, but I think, but people
Three
still
things.
understand what they're what they're watching. But and then we'll get to another point that he also has.
I think kind of three things. To be honest, first, if you're getting your knowledge from McGregor or from any military person, I mean,
Fair
or
point.
if you're just getting it from one person, be careful. Like if somebody says that and then
Yeah.
you go, okay, that's also just what the fuck is wrong with you? Secondly, yeah. The first is any person. The second thing is a military person specifically. The third, I mean, come on, man. I think we have to be a bit self-aware about who and what. Like it's not like it's been broadcast on CNN or you know what I mean. Like it doesn't really have an audience that doesn't look for it, or you know what I mean. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I
And
mean,
I think if somebody can go down the wrong route this easily, then whatever. Like you just saying,
yeah.
but right, I don't know.
So yeah, I think I honestly
But
think
but
that
I wanted to
everything that
talk about, to be
TCT
honest.
wants was conveyed in what Aaron did. But one last thing. But then he also
No,
says,
I
okay,
wanted to
this
talk about, yeah.
the angle, yeah. The angle I was
I
hoping
was
you guys would take would have been to also rip on Max. What the hell, TCT? He thinks we're like his agents to go around like, people he wants. He's
no,
like,
no, but
he's like, if you could
good
hate on
but
this
that's a
guy,
good
he's my
point.
neighbor's cousin. I hate him.
No, no, Max wasn't there, so that's, but he's
No,
connected to Aaron though.
yeah,
But that
but
was
no,
a good,
Max
I
was in
must
the
say.
interview with Colin.
No, but
With
they did
Colin.
mention, no, but he's connected to Aaron, kind
No, but
of,
I'm saying he
like,
was in the interview. Max,
he was.
he was. Yeah, yeah. The three of
Oh,
them
with
are
the
in it.
McGregor,
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
McGregor. Oh, you're right. And who just sat there and nodded along. But when Anna said it was a delight to meet with her war criminal Madeline Max, right? I would. That's
But these
to
two are
be
a bit
honest.
different.
Yeah, it's that's what I was gonna say. Nodding along is a bit different from like saying it's an honor to meet Madeline Albright.
Yeah,
But then again, I remembered Max is not in the beginning of the video. I mean, Max is he does kind of weird stuff sometimes. So, but that has nothing to do with Aaron. But yeah, in the beginning of the video, General decorated got,
yeah. True. Fair
like
enough. There.
builds up the thing. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like what, not that, by the way, I might see tomorrow if Obama agrees to do an interview with us, I'll be like former two-time president. It does happen. So it's not the biggest crime out there, but whatever. Yeah, it's you go with the
Hilarious.
flow sometimes. Yeah.
And
The
then
first black president. Suddenly I become identity politics.
but yeah. Okay, sorry, TCT. I mean, let us know who else you want to hate, and if our
That's
interests naturally go together,
collide.
then we'll do it. But
Attack them.
on the last point, finally on the next show, I was hoping the boys would publicly apologize to Matt. Yeah, no,
No, no way.
that was this we agree, and yeah, that was kind of
Yeah, no, they thought it was a bit spicy. That was. He shouldn't have had drank so much coffee.
Okay, this comment is from like 2 weeks ago or so, but we never talked about it, and I thought you might like it. So this is about nationalism in Iraq and all this, and Sam's thought on
No, I
it.
remember this.
So just a correction about nationalism. The root of modern Iraqi nationalism didn't come up in the 50s, but 20s after the Iraqi revolt against the British. Modern Syrian nationalism is in the 30s, Lebanese 1919 to 1930s, and Egypt 1919. Nationalism in these countries are not far because they started with the fall of the Ottoman Empire. Maybe Turkish nationalism newer than Iranian nationalism, but these nationalism are older than Saudi, Israeli, UAE, Kuwait, Qatar, Azerbaijani. Fake. Other than that, this is another great four corners of geopolitics. Thank you for that, George. So yes, Sam, maybe you can put a bit more in context and kind of what George is referring to and all that. And yeah, if you have.
To be honest, I didn't know.
No, but you don't remember you talked about.
No, but I no, I'm just saying.
Oh.
Yeah, no, he's correct. He's completely correct. Not that that's the thing about nationalism, though, nobody's. It's just some are older than others. It's not that some are authentic and some are fake. So when I say fake nationalism, I mean just newer nationalism, basically. And I would say some nations are completely propped up by outside forces, and a lot of nations start that way, but then go on to become something independent. So who knows? But yeah, I would also add this, except Egyptian nationalism, all those early Arab nationalism did, like, there was a more of a Arab nationalism sense to it, but then it became more like Iraqi, Syrian.
Yeah, so they were all like, so that's, I mean, it also makes sense with the timeline that he provides, right? Like around the same time.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, though, at the same time, Arab nationalism was first basically the project of the, Hashemite. So, and they were not exactly loved by everybody. So, it wasn't completely without its enemies, let's say, without its local enemies. So, it's.
I see. But okay, good stuff.
But yeah. But let's see.
I don't
Saudi, Israel, UAE, Kuwaiti, Qatari, Azerbaijani, and Turkish, Egyptian, Iraqi, Syrian, Lebanese. I would put the one thing maybe I would add is maybe Syrian and Lebanese. Lebanese is that's kind of bullshit. I would say that's just Syrian national. Like Lebanon they made that just so Syria, so access to water is restricted a bit, as far as I understand. So it's a bit Lebanese. I mean, he's right though, like it happened then, but it's a bit weird.
But yeah, I mean, I guess if nationalism means just like, being nationalism towards, like you literally like your country. So like Lebanese nationalism versus like or like Syrian nationalism. Like, I guess it is still nationalism for like, I mean, I guess a lot of the things can be similar, fine, and that's true. But I guess it's the nationalism of one country, I guess nowadays, and that of another country. So I mean, there is Lebanese nationalism, I guess, of course.
No, in terms of movement and stuff, you're right. But I do think there is a minimum of like certain amount of land and peoples and like Kurds. But unless you have access to water, and Armenians are feeling that too right now, it's hard to keep a nation going. And it's just, and yeah, it does feel like, I don't know about this, I don't know about the history of it, but I do feel like Lebanese might get a bit more foreign influence. I mean, Syria had a revolution, so for sure. So Lebanese may have been a bit more propped up by foreigners as well. Maybe.
Perhaps. But
I
yeah,
don't know enough. Yeah, but this is like
I don't know anything
fantasy
either.
nationalism, fantasy football. I don't know about this player. It's fundamental.
He goes, works for another, few decades, comes back,
Yeah,
will review.
comes back. You put in a modern education system. You unify the language.
Healthcare.
Newspapers.
But okay, all right. So I think that's it for the chit chat part. Let's go to some of these rising videos. Okay, Sam. So actually, before moving on the rising videos, we forgot about this. So where did you find this? Where did Glenn post this? I didn't know about this, but
Twitter.
yeah, very, very sad news. I mean, yeah.
Yep, I googled Glenn because we thought, all right, it's been a couple of weeks that there was no news or stuff. That's where we know where our bread is buttered. So yeah, then I saw a couple of Spanish messages that David Miranda is like, it's not as Portuguese shit. Yeah, Portuguese, same language basically. So yeah, we discussed this. And in that he's not good or something. My husband is in critical condition or something. So then I couldn't understand them. So I just got this basically. So he's been hospitalized in critical condition since August 7, inflammation and infection of gastrointestinal system, which is awful. And so who knows?
Yeah.
He says he's better now, I think.
No, not
In one of
really.
his later, no,
Oh,
in one of the later tweets, I think. But I don't know. So
yeah,
I hope
yeah,
he's
no, very
getting
sad.
good.
And then he goes on to also talk about a doggy of his who's been
Yeah,
who's fallen sick.
yeah, there's the dog that, and that's, I've seen that's kind of true. A lot of people, when they get depressed, their dog gets depressed.
But that's different. But I mean, I don't think he's
This
saying
is
that the
sickness.
dog
Yeah, this
also
is
got
sickness.
sick because David. I mean,
No, I think it's kind of
Mila has
implies
always
that.
been a complete healthy dog with no help. A week before David was hospitalized, when he did not yet realize he was ill, he remarked that she seemed uncharacteristically depressed. Ever since David was hospitalized okay, but I can see how it can be sad. But earlier today, we took her to the veterinarian clinic, and doctor, it was urgent she be hospitalized for the same symptoms as David. They're treating our experts to make a full recovery.
And then she goes, I realize that for people who have not been around dogs much, this can all seem coincidental, but as someone who has spent much of the last 20 years of my life devoted to, dogs, blah, 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 blah. So, that's, so yeah. I don't know. I never, I mean, I've heard, there are people who die, like recently there was a famous Iranian dubber, I guess, voice actor, not dubber, because in Iran, yeah, voice actor. And his wife was also a famous voice actor. She died, and 2 days later, he died of a heart attack. So, like, no
I mean,
truth
that you can
in that
see,
story.
like, like heart attacks and all this, like, because, some kind of stressful event can, I'm guessing, someone who is prone to a heart attack increase it. So, I mean, that kind of makes sense. But this actually
Oh,
also, he says that it's a gastrointestinal issue, an
system.
infection, right? I mean, if that,
Well,
I don't know
yeah,
if that has to do with your stomach and gut and all this,
yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
like the dog in the same house also somehow get that kind of sickness
Oh,
from a
bug.
similar thing?
Yeah, that's one explanation. I also know, like in ancient Zoroastrians and stuff, they would bring a dog to before they bury someone, well, in the
Mm.
skies, but they would bring a dog in the ceremony just to, because like it was like the dog would know if you're dead or
Oh
alive.
yeah, I mean,
I
if you're
don't know if
sick and all that though, like a dog can definitely tell, especially if there's any kind of scent coming out, of course, which maybe humans can't pick up,
gastro.
but dogs can. Like,
Yeah,
they can
exactly.
spot that kind of stuff very
But
easily.
I think your thing about the bug maybe the yeah, but
Yeah,
that's more
if such a
reasonable.
thing can happen, yeah.
Yeah, but at the end though, I just wanted to ask you, what is wrong with you dog owners? Like seriously, what is, like, your wife, your husband, or whatever is like? 3 paragraph about the dog, 1 paragraph about the husband. I'm just saying.
He started off with David
This is
Miranda.
so this is exactly like what happened with my uncle. That I'm just like my uncle passed away, and then you and 6 other people. Oh, our dog got sick. It was
But
equally
like,
sad. Like,
because I mean, a dog is very sad, right? But it's
of
like
course.
somehow at a level that you can like talk about it and ask questions and stuff, right? But something like really sad, you don't also want to just
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
keep on bringing up asking follow-up questions. Can you
Unless you're a
clarify?
doctor,
So
really.
is he
Yeah, you're not.
dead or not?
I'll call
I,
back in few days, weeks, whatever the doctor
I
says.
don't think I
Yeah,
believe your
no.
story.
Hopefully.
I think about it critically. There's few inconsistencies.
Is this manufacturing? No. I mean, it's just
But yeah,
no.
hopefully,
Emotional bonds are strange, I guess. They
yeah, but
vary.
hopefully he gets good. I mean, you said
Yeah, I
that
hope
he's
so.
already the update that you've perhaps seen somewhere else. He's getting
Maybe I'm
better.
wrong. It
Yeah.
was all in this. It was all in Latin,
But
whatever that. I'm just gonna call it Spanish, Italian, French, all these languages Latin from now on. So we got Latin. It wasn't in Germanic, so I don't know.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to student loan debts and Briahna. So this first video of the rising, I didn't actually watch it, but I think here she puts forward, I'm guessing, she probably covers the news and also her
Oh,
positions
it's.
and some of them. But then there's
I
another
swear to God,
video
man.
that is related
I
to it,
s-
of course.
we go to the one before. I swear to God, I forgot to write down the moment for this one, but there is a bit in this, and this was uploaded like like couple of hours after we did our last show, like the one with it. It was like literally, it was seemed like it was aimed at us. Not that I think it was or anything, but it seemed like it was aimed at. It was so weird because as soon as I was done about my ranting about why people complain about this issue,
Yeah.
then she was like, at the end of her radar, she's like, the reason why I'm talking about this, I know this is not the most important issue. I know this is. So I felt so like, oh shit. So and then she goes like, because Biden. I mean, I would still, because she said because Biden promised it, and because Biden can uh, uh, he doesn't have excuses like the congressional stuff, like it's something he can do with his executive
Yeah.
order. And and my main criticism was, I guess, nagging doesn't help, but I mean, David Sirota argues that it helped. I don't think it was still the nagging, but whatever, it's maybe it was
Hey,
the
I
thing,
think
so who
it threw
knows.
them a
So I
lifeline
take it
for
back.
it might win them one seat or something. It might tilt one or two
No, man,
races their way.
I think they're gonna do good, to be honest, because of Roe versus Wade, it seems.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
too.
kind of
But
my I'll get to that in the Brian Grimm section. It is so disappointing how low the bar is for them. I mean, they played. I mean, kudos to them, by the way. Just well done in play. They played the game so in a way that the expectation is so low that now this, and a couple of like you're basically not being, fascist psychopaths,
yeah.
which Republican parties basically is. So that's it. That's good enough.
Yeah, just scratch a few $1,000s in student loans. And with Roe v. Wade, they're not even doing anything actively. They're just sitting passively, and that's
Well,
good enough.
at
They're
least
like,
they're talking a bigger game, I guess, codifying it. And,
yeah.
that's it's not much. I agree, but that
No, I mean,
seems to be
if that
enough.
was actually something that they would talk about seriously and move towards, okay, fine, that would be decent. But
They might be forced to, because Roe versus Wade seems to. I was surprised at how much of like intense issue it has become. So maybe it does force them to codify it or something
yeah,
in some
perhaps try for
kind
it.
of fashion. Because we'll see. We'll see. Although, to be honest, I don't think none of this matters to me. Like, nobody cares about midterm elections. Basically, 3 people vote. So maybe we are all talking about like, oh,
Well, I mean,
Republicans are going to do
those three
better.
people who vote, though, I mean, one tilting
You
this
think
way, that way. I mean, they still lead to people being elected, no matter, regardless of how few people vote.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying maybe Republicans do well. It's just maybe I don't
I
know.
think a
None of
combination
this
of
is
both,
backed by any science.
but I think there's a higher chance still of Republicans kind of really outdoing it, because we all focus on, like, if Robbie was here, for instance, from the Hill, well, he'd be like, well, you're not taking into consideration how popular, like, this kind of, the view of Republicans towards education is, and how, willing they are to come out and vote because of, like, the education positions of some Republicans. So they also have their things.
No, sure. That's
Yeah.
no, that's what I'm saying. I'm like people like it's polls basically saying all of this, and that election sort of referenda in Kansas. So it's not exactly back to just like when everybody was saying it's going to be a red wave, it wasn't really backed by much either. But it's just how things smell right now. It's not very scientific. That's
And
all
I
I'm saying.
mean, listen, one thing is scientific. There's a percentage of Democrats and Republicans who are loyal customers. They come back every election and they vote no matter who you put. So there's only so there's only so much that can happen when, like, you have two parties and the same people, people keep on voting for their own parties. So, you lose a few seats, you gain one here, you lose a little bit of
That's what I
house,
mean.
you're never going to
Especially,
get crushed in an insane sense across the board.
I think, yeah, midterms and like parliamental elections in countries, that type of elections are tend to have a lower turnout and
Yeah,
tend to
but
be more voted on by people who are, genuine political geeks or psychos that like
no,
basically
but a
us.
parliamentary
So,
election, though, like, one party could, like, lose a lot of seats and, like, lose a lot of power. But in the US Congress, I mean, of course you
no,
lose
I
the
mean like
majority, but
countries, I mean like countries that have presidential, I meant. Like
yeah.
France or like not UK. I didn't mean like
Or like the
system.
German ones, I was thinking, like, there,
Oh
your
yeah.
party could lose a lot of.
I mean they're more local. Usually you go unless it gets really really local. Usually has lower turnouts. I think
Yeah,
over
yeah, of
like
course.
my.
It's not as
So
sexy as the presidential
yeah, I mean
election.
unless it's super local. Sometimes super local
Yeah,
elections like
fine.
one village. So everybody's like, okay, well, there's nothing to do this week. Might as well.
But okay,
They'll pass, they give us free tea. So
let's go back to student loans. So now there was this debate where, Briahna pretty much manhandled anybody who came,
yeah, it
who
was
came towards
no,
her on
those
this
they
subject.
both man.
Yeah,
The
she was
other lady
on.
was
Yeah,
also so
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
The other person, this lizard man or whatever he is, I don't know. It's lizard. It's Jesus. What do you think he looked like that before this? Like you come like that, or
No,
do they
Briahna
make you like
took her
that
soul.
after?
Briahna took his soul.
She took what?
She took his soul, like, within, like,
Oh,
the
all
first
right.
3 minutes of the video.
I don't think
He
he
was
had one, but
finished.
okay. But he's man, he looks like he hasn't eaten for like a month or something. He's been kept in a basement, probably by adults or. But then the other lady, there is some part where he says the reason why people like me don't want other people to have this is not because what is it? We are like grudgeful or we are we don't like we're greedy, I
Yeah.
guess, or something along those lines. And then she literally she goes, yes, it's because of that. You are that. It's so harsh, so in his face. It's and his hair. What's going on with that? Anyway, it's just sorry.
Yeah.
People say don't comment on people's look, but she's come on.
And, of course, he didn't get. I mean, yeah, Robbie, it's unclear
Yes,
where he
they.
found. Robbie's like good, like, he's like, no, I opposed everything. I opposed the student loans. I opposed the BB. I opposed
That's the libertarian
everything.
way. Yeah.
But then he says that statement. But then when he, like, talks and give his opinion, you don't feel like he necessarily, like, reaches those conclusions. Like, he says, like, X, Y, and Z, like, libertarian stuff. But when he's talking, he often, like, has like a position on a policy, wanting a little bit more or a little bit less of it, often just a little bit less of it, but still something.
I think policing and stuff maybe, but not with loans. I don't know. I think
Yeah,
anything comes with economy, he'll be like, no, thank you. Like, I think
yeah.
yes, but I would say I still dabble down on my. By the way, the guy's position, even though he couldn't set it like that's what I'm saying. The caliber of the people are also low because the position he was saying that. His point was that it leads to inflation, right? It doesn't, like it's bullshit argument. But how you can argue that is by saying quantitative easing and money printing in general leads to inflation. He kind of hinted at it, but he didn't argue it well. So he fucked up there. But I would say that I still would say I think this policy is just gonna, it does feel like sort of just throwing meat to the lowest soldiers in our own camp, if that makes sense, like the children of middle class that had to get loans or whatever. I mean, Biden, famously, Biden's own daughter or whatever had a student loan.
Man,
So it
Biden, I
does
would
feel like
believe if
that.
he doesn't have too much money in the bank account.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
I
maybe
mean,
he
even
does.
though it's just his corruption, he sucks at
Hunter,
corruption.
maybe he does. Hunter has millions sitting. But
I mean, come on, man. I told you, at the text, he's asking for money from his dad like every month. So
from his paycheck, the Biden lives paycheck to paycheck. Gives probably half of it to Hunter, who like blows it in one night. He's like, fine, here's 80,000. It should last until the end of the year. 2 days later.
I saw their Irish grandfather. It's not Irish, it's German.
As Hunter Biden spending
But
all
I
the
would
club.
say it's just, yeah, it does feel so, I can feel it's helping polarize a bit. So it's a good thing. It's overall a very good thing.
I mean, yeah, and
sound bitter.
People who go to university, that is true though. I think the numbers back this, if I'm not mistaken, the majority of people, more people with a bachelor degree vote Democrat than Republican, right? If I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, overall.
So I mean, it should, some of them receive some, but it was only it's only 10,000, like the max that they'll take away, right?
Yeah, apparently I don't understand. I haven't been able to, I read a bit of it, I couldn't figure it out. Apparently though, the means testing it of it actually, I mean, this is from Chapo Trap House guys, but it's pretty good. Like it targets people who have, because most of the people who low amount of loans are actually doing things like nursing and teaching, like things that are actually useful. Like people who have a high amount of loans mostly are doing, things that either they be able to pay it back or bullshit stuff like art or law is a bit middle, but like humanities.
Yeah.
And I know I sound bitter and all that, and it's because I am. It's just because I am. I have no excuse.
Don't worry, something will come your way as well.
Somebody will. They do a tax education fund for
for kindergarten.
I'm not like as bitter as that guy though. I'm not as bitter as that guy to not want other people to have. I'm just a little bitter.
Yeah, I mean, those kind of arguments, why is it unfair to this person and that person,
It's like saying why is it was like
you can say that about anything. So then you should never change something.
Abolish slavery.
Yeah, it's unfair.
It's that, well, don't abolish.
Women
it's unfair to all those black guys. It's racist to those older. It's not. It's ageist and racist.
I swear.
At keeping a slavery is just racist, but that one too ageist. So.
Yeah, no, I swear, exactly. I mean, it's just like such a, And hey, if there are other people that somebody should help out, then put down a proposal and they can be helped out too. I mean,
I would have hoped that most of the people who get their student loans, like get forgiven, would go on to vote, like, or help, like people with, in bigger, like people with house loans or medical loans or
Mm,
whatever. But I
yeah.
think as history has proven us, just like the children who get their education paid for by their parents, it is not gonna happen. So yeah, usually when you get off, you quickly, where is the ladder?
Yeah. But I mean, we talked so much about loans. Should we move this Chapo Trap House video here and then come back to Dershowitz? Because that's just
Yeah,
such a different
that's a good thing.
conversation.
Yeah,
So we'll just
yeah,
move
yeah.
these other ones kind of related. So yeah, Chapo Trap House. I mean, first the video starts with them talking about like this
Don't.
YouTube.
It's kind of
Huh?
a bad picture. Bad picture.
I thought it would be provocative.
Okay, but don't want to talk about this. Hello. Oh,
Hello,
sorry.
yeah.
I froze first.
Well,
But
this guy, I
yeah.
saw him on the Luke Thomas show too. You shared that video.
Oh yeah, he's big
With
on.
me.
I did. It was. Oh, that was. By the way, shows like our friendship kind of makes sense because it was just such a collide of our two worlds. I thought that
Yeah.
interview
Oh, and I
because
have
we
a
both
general.
introduced those two people. Yeah.
True, true. Sorry, yeah. I'm just saying. I just also have a general though observation about them, which I want to get to after. Though, let's first talk about the content of
It
this
to
video.
be honest, it's not really about Chapo Trap House. It's really about
What?
you and how you suck. Really.
What?
Did you listen to them
Yeah.
to their 20-minute thing?
Yeah, to the
Did
whole
you
thing.
hear? Did you hear what podcast some of the podcasts got? Loans.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Stephen Goddamn Crowder, that gay that closeted, not
Yeah.
because he's gay, just because he's fucking weird, Christian, whatever. He was a celibate, by he was a virgin before he got married. So anyway,
Really?
yeah, well, he's not closeted.
Mhm.
But anyway, they got
Yeah.
$75,000 of loans. Kevin D. Williams got 150,000. What you are supposed to be handling the business side of our show. What is going on?
Wait, we're not in the States.
I'm sure in Switzerland they probably handed out more.
But yeah, no, I mean in Switzerland, I think they did it
And
probably. Oh
they
yeah,
all those
no, they
loans
did do
got
it the same
canceled, by the
way.
way.
Yeah, that's really, yeah, to the
Yeah,
businesses.
and they are complaining about the student that's getting
Yeah.
canceled. But yeah,
And those
yeah,
loans, well, those
Jesus.
loans were supposed to be given to people who have
For
employees in order for them to pay their employees. But then
it
as
was
they
for
point out,
yeah, COVID. No,
yeah, no, but as they
for effect for negative impact because of Corona. It wasn't even necessary for so like
no, that's
if
how the
you're
Chapo Trap House guys explained it. Of course, it wasn't COVID, but it was like, the amount given was
yeah,
for
but that's
companies to cover
usually
employee salaries.
yeah, exactly, because that's usually like you have a coffee shop. Businesses don't. I
Yeah,
mean, your biggest expense is employees.
yeah.
So
So it makes
yes,
sense if you have a YouTube channel or something. I guess they typically have one producer, so they have to
but
pay his salaries and an editor.
Jesus Christ, what is going on,
Man, did
man?
you
And
see, man,
the
maybe
grift.
have you seen this Joe Rogan? He buys he bought, I don't know when this happened, but he bought, what's his Jamie, a Tesla as like a present.
I
Sam,
have.
look outside.
I'm
There's a
just gonna
nice
go kill myself
motorcycle
right
waiting for
now.
you. No, no, look outside.
Yeah.
Carton of milk.
Oh,
Enjoy.
it's a toy motor. What is that, by the way? If you're implying I should maybe because Jamie also applied for those loans. If you're implying I should get you any, I'm not kidding. You ain't shit.
uh,
Oh man,
funny.
and
But
then I was looking at that Andrew Tate thing, and he has this thing War Room, and it's basically like he's doing a Ponzi
who are you
scheme.
talking
I
about?
had no idea, but the Andrew Tate
Oh,
guy, the guy who
yeah.
sense. What's going on? Like how?
But I haven't seen him
This
now
is
with the YouTube, with the social media ban. I actually haven't seen him for a
no.
week or two.
Apparently he was. Yeah, well now, but apparently he was pushing this sort of a war university. What was it? Based university or lads university? Some bullshit. I forget. But anyway, man, just what are we doing? We should just set up some bullshit university about something. Anyway, very
Yeah, no, I haven't
stereotyped.
heard of that. I haven't heard it. I didn't hear him talk about that. But yeah, okay. You know what Chapo Trap House? You know what Chapo Trap House?
What's
So I
the tell me.
realized one thing. I feel like the ones who do the ones who did that show, which were who? It was like him,
These three.
and him.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like always on the same page. Like they're always on the same page, and it's like they often like complete each other's sentences, and like every joke is the same one as the other person wanted to say. We're maybe on the same page like 20% of the time, 30% of the time on a good day.
Yes.
But they're kind of 100%. Like they never disagree with each other. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I mean, it really helps with the flow of the show because they're like, they literally finish each other's sentences. Like in this video, they
I
were like completing each
they
other's
complete.
sentences. But
Yeah,
they
it
never.
sounds very cheesy, but I think they complete each other because you got the wheel. I think with the guy with the beard, with the short
This
hair
guy,
beard. Yeah, yeah. He's the host. Sort of, he controls the room, I think, very well. Like he's not too funny because you don't want your straight man to be too funny, but he's funny and he knows the references and stuff. You got Matt, the one with the big beard, who's the intellectual one, I guess.
mm,
He's got the intellect. He brings the intellectual heft, and then you got, I think, Felix, who's got the more pop culture, like current young gaming, sports, and some intellectual stuff. It's more funny kind of thing. So I think it's just Amber. To be honest, was like a good wild card. She used to come, but Amber apparently has left the show now.
who's that?
But
Him?
no, Amber was the girl,
Oh,
Amber Frost. You probably heard her a lot.
but
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah,
But
that's Chris. I think that's Chris, which is the producer. He's
mm,
also quite like very, just he's more like historical person, I
I see
think.
what you're saying, but they also, I
Music.
mean,
Oh, he's into music.
in terms of their contribution to the show, sure, maybe they each have something that complement each other, but also like when they're just like breaking down the news or saying it or just reading
Oh
it,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
very like in flow in that way too. Perhaps it helps because they're in the same studio, but yeah, they always find like all the jokes like work on each other and all of that. So I don't know, maybe it's
Yeah.
scripted.
No, maybe it's a psyop.
um,
Man.
okay.
Oh,
Is
by the way, talking of psyops, I was remembered saying that of Vanguard. Vanguard having debated Aaron Matta about his, lack of professionalism in journalism. What did they cover that night when
no.
the next day? They covered the most recent UFO, I don't know, like release of information by
Oh,
Pentagon or
Sagar
something.
would be proud.
Yeah, yeah, it was very substantial.
Yes.
Definitely, that's very
Sagar
substantial.
is like this document which contains 2 paragraphs and 3 sentences proves that there are UFOs. I've never
Pentagon
seen
never
like
lies.
government document that short. It was like, yeah. But yeah, I haven't seen this latest round. I haven't seen this one, but yeah. Sagar would be proud. You remember that video? He like pleads with like journalists to like prioritize
Please pay
UFO.
attention.
They're like, okay, sure. Where do you cover this? Like who like who
I'll fund
where
it myself. Just please show up to Area 51.
yeah.
Let's go to the real issues.
Oh,
Yeah.
funny. Is this one related to this story?
The kind, well, it's a very brief one, but it's really funny. In the UK, a lot of people are do pledging that they're not going to pay energy companies, and because
Mm.
kind of it's human rights to stay alive and not frozen. So that kind of it
Interesting.
appeals. And then it's a trend. I noticed it's a trend that in Jordan recently people decided to boycott buying chickens,
Mm.
and you see in a lot of in Iran they always talking about boycotting buying meat and all these type of things. And in there was another thing I saw. There was another example of this. I forget, but anyway, I feel like there's a international. The BBC Persia had a good article which I couldn't share, but that one had another example. So there seems to be an interesting trend, which is not exactly strikes. I mean, we have the
Yeah.
strikes, but this is interesting to me
No, I mean,
because
this is
most
also
people are not actually workers, especially in the developed world. Most people are not. Most people, you can say most people are consumers and workers, but most people who are just pure consumers, I think, have there's more of them than most people who are
mm,
even just consumer and worker. So this could be interesting. We'll see what it leads to, but it's an interesting tactic, I think.
definitely. And this article only just warns though about like what can happen to you if you don't pay your bills and how debt
Yes.
collectors can come after you and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Oh, I've had.
can this yeah. I mean if you do it, I guess in big numbers and big, you know, then it's then you know then it turns into a real political action that needs a
I mean,
reaction.
yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I will see what happens. I mean, the boycott of
Very interesting.
uh, m- chicken and meat is less direct, but mm, we talked about Japan trying to stimulate people drinking more. Like, things are getting
Each
interesting.
country their own. Uh, yeah. Okay. Oh man. Yeah. So we're gonna go to the Alan Dershowitz video before that, but yeah, I want maybe just mention it now because of different countries and different things. Have you seen this thing that Elon Musk is on about how the biggest threat to civilization is like
Falling.
low reproduction?
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess
falling
him and I
scale.
see eye to eye on one issue. I'm not
Well,
dramatic like him. I don't think falls. You can easily crank it up whenever needed, or maybe he has a tipping point.
you have a personal stake. You have the dream of having your own personal football team who are
No,
all
I would no, I
genetically
don't
bound
like
to
no, I
you.
would never want like I can't I don't know why, but just because I have one sister only, I can't imagine more than like two kids or something, like I can't imagine how three looks or one looks. Definitely not 8 or 10 or as
What do you
many
mean,
as
gang?
as he has.
Well, okay. I thought you're gonna say I can't imagine raising one child or three children, but you said I can't imagine how it looks. So that's okay.
Yeah, well, same
But
thing. But yeah, I mean, he has like 8 or 10.
man,
So
do you remember I sent you that article about Elon Musk? People who are Tesla fans, they're putting their babies in front of Tesla cars to
yeah,
prove that
shit.
Tesla is safe. That is so like,
Yeah, I never
yeah.
looked
I
that
mean
up though. I
that.
forgot.
I mean, just interest. I would like to know what do you have to again do for social services to step in for asylums or mental health professionals to put you in a straitjacket. Like when you put your baby in front of a car, like and then no, it's yeah.
Yeah. I
I'm
agree
just
with
saying.
you there. I agree with you there. But okay, all right, let's go to this Alan Dershowitz interview. That's fun stuff. Okay, Sam, this was a nice little unexpected surprise, really enjoyable.
Epstein update.
No, just like the whole video was like fun to watch in general. I've never really seen the three of them have a kind of, an interview with a guest
Oh,
who was this kind of good and like articulate. It was very
Robbie,
interesting.
Robbie especially came on for this. This
Yeah.
was not a day that Robbie was on any other segment, but he came for this.
Oh, really? Oh, do you have your microphone by the way?
Yes,
Oh
but
yeah, sorry.
maybe it's a bit low.
Yeah,
I'll put it up.
brilliant.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
so
see. Okay, but I mean, this was good. So apparently, Alan Dershowitz, I didn't know this, but forget about everything bad he's been associated with and in the past. As he says, nobody ever came after him for that, or nobody meaningful and powerful. They didn't try to cancel him for that. But since he like kind of, or was he a lawyer a bit for Trump recently, or he kind of defended him? Like I don't even know what he
he
did for.
on the impeachment, I think
And on
he
the
defended
impeachment, he
him.
represented them. He's like, because of that, I've been canceled. And he really did give an example of cancel. He was like, I had over 20 of my books in this one bookstore, and they like, or like, bookstore franchise,
It's
and they
not
just removed
cancelled,
all
man.
of it. But no, but fine, it wasn't canceled, but it's a reaction
Oh
to
yeah, yeah.
to
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, sure, like
Chapo
a
Trap
reaction.
House
Yeah.
guys. Man, he wrote an article like a year ago or something, and Chapo Trap House guys do a reading of it. It's so funny. He's so upset. People don't talk to him anymore in Martha's Vineyard. He doesn't get invited as a guest speaker because he was, because he
But
was a very
But that's
respected
the
figure
thing,
among the
though.
elites.
Exactly. That's how messed up it is. He points that out, although, you know, but I guess he doesn't care because he's just trying to defend himself. But he keeps on pointing out Epstein, everybody was fine.
Yeah,
With
fine
me
with Epstein.
representing him,
Yeah.
everything else, they don't even care to even mention it. But this is what for them is like truly like no. And it really shows just
Yeah, because
where their
Epstein
priorities
wasn't,
lie.
at least for a long time, Epstein wasn't in the public eye. But Trump
But then
is
he
like Trump
became,
is
but then like he
Trump
was
is
for a
saying
while.
what.
No.
Yeah, that's why now
Yeah.
everybody's just like, episode what, Jeff? I
Uh,
don't remember. Yeah, Jeffrey who? But yeah,
I met him.
the
How am I?
interesting he
No.
no. Oh yes, there is a video of okay. But did you do you believe him? Because his thing is that
Which part though? Believe
he
which?
will. Oh, okay. He says, first of all, he came on the show to promote his book and talk mainly about this Trump thing. And they just like, no,
Yeah.
fuck you. You're talking about him. I don't know how he'll got this like interview. But and Alan, I love Alan Dershowitz. He doesn't fucking back off in that sense. I
Yeah.
like him in no other sense. So he didn't back off, and uh he answered them fully. So they kept asking about his connections to Epstein. His whole argument was that my connection to him was very limited. I only knew him through the Harvard and Bill Clinton connection and eminent and persons. He mentions a couple of them, like the head of Harvard, the Kennedy person or something. And I was just a lawyer for him and stuff, and we didn't have any connection. And
But what was
after I
that thing that
defended
then he
him
said
in
though
the
that
Florida, yeah, after I defended him in Florida, he didn't like how I defended him, so he disconnected. That's Bill. But
but
he disconnected himself from me, and look, I kind of was almost falling for it, but then he says that. Do you think if I knew he was like that, I would allow my children and
yeah.
grandchildren to stay at his home? I'm like, well, I would assume you have some knowledge of the person. If you allow you're not a poor person. Why would you allow your children, or you know
Yeah,
what I
that was
mean?
so
Like,
weird. Like why would it anyway, like why did his
yeah,
children and grandchildren go stay at his house? That
some
was
rich people do that, though. They
yeah.
do lend each other keys for their villas and stuff really easily. But it's still, I mean, maybe that was his trick. Maybe
I
Epstein would,
wouldn't do that.
yeah. But that's the thing.
Why
Yeah,
don't people like hotels? They're the best. Their beds are
yeah,
like
man.
nowhere else.
I rather, to be honest,
Maybe
whenever
really
my
rich people's
parents.
house is the same thing. So maybe like a mansion with like has the same things.
No, but even then, you go stay at like somebody invites you, go to stay there, not when they're not there, just giving you the key. You know
And
what?
the whole
Just
family,
like
why
I've
did it
seen it
have to go
happen, but
children, grandchildren, wife? You started
well, the
naming.
thing is, Alan Dershowitz is a lawyer, but I assume I don't know about the fact that the rest of he's a very famous lawyer. Like the rest of the faculty might be pretty low level. They're not. They don't have villas or houses maybe in New York. I don't know. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
But I mean, even if you don't,
But
you
but
just go.
but I've seen this shit happen. So at the same
Yeah.
time that it seems unbelievable, I've fucking seen it that people go like give their key. Rich people do that quite often. They're weird. But anyway, uh, poor people are too. But yeah. Uh, so yeah, he did. And the best part was, in my view, the Norman Finkel's thing.
Yeah. But should we play? Okay, let's play that part then, because I want people to get a little taste of where's the Norman
Yeah, sure.
Finkelstein? What's his name? Asked him. I think it's
Ryan
towards the
Grim.
end. Ryan Grimm asked him.
I think in middle-ish, to be honest. They go back to
Here,
Epstein
no.
suddenly.
I think. Hold on.
He really likes young girls.
No, yeah, you're right. Oh, I should have prepared this.
Yeah, Trump.
There we go. Now.
You see,
was one of the people that was attacked, but he accused me of the case for Israel, which was
Yep. sorry, all viewers.
is highly critical of cancel culture, praises people who stand up on principle. And in that context, I wanted to ask you about your own kind of leading of a cancellation. If you 2005 to 2007, you had this high-profile fight with another academic, Norm Finkelstein.
He's not an academic. He's
not an academic because you successfully blocked him from getting tenure.
No, I had nothing to do with it.
He is an academic.
Yeah,
I mean that's just plainly wrong because not only
you don't have to be tenured to be, of course not
academic. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean he teaches and he produces peer-reviewed articles and writes books. So yeah, but
teaches at the academic level.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so let's listen to a bit of his response though.
Let me tell you exactly.
You sent a letter to the university urging them not to give you tenure.
No. They solicited a letter from me. That happens all the time. What happened is he wrote a book attacking me. He called my book, The Case for Israel, a fraud. He said it was written by the Mossad. And so the university wrote to me and asked me to give my assessment about his academic credibility. And as I've done 100 times for other people, I wrote a scholarly letter assessing his credibility. They then made a decision based on a range of factors. In fact, they told me my letter played very, very little role. I'm very pleased for the fact that he was denied tenure. He didn't deserve tenure. He was not a serious academic. He was a polemical, radical extremist who hadn't written any serious books. His books were panned by the New York Times, called terrible, terrible books. And again, I'm proud of the role I played in the Norman Finkelstein case. And I would continue to play roles like that. As an academic, I would give a fair and honest assessment. I obviously exposed in the letter my own point of view, knowing that I was one of the people that was attacked. But he accused me of The Case for Israel, which was a major bestseller and an important book. He accused me of having had it ghostwritten by the Mossad. I mean, that kind of allegation and charge is not consistent with tenure at a major university.
But your letter was reviewed by the tenure committee, and the tenure committee still voted.
And the
tenure committee still voted to give him tenure. It was only then at the higher level, at the administrative, more political level, that by a single vote he was.
I don't know why you say at the more political level. It was the academic level. It was an academic decision not to give him tenure. Giving him tenure would have been a really bad decision based on his scholarship. I urge you to read his book.
Okay, so I mean, of course, yeah. I mean, it wasn't just that, and there were other universities then they didn't want to give Norman a job or anything because. But I mean, just how biased is that though? Why would they ask him for a letter when, of course, he's the subject of one of Norman Finkelstein's books? I mean, that should just, write him out of, why would you?
Famous person.
Yeah,
that's why.
But a conflict of interest.
O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, but there's a bit of a conflict of interest.
Oh, yeah. Well, at the same time, in an academic sense, they kind of want a chance for rebuttal, I guess.
No, I mean, that's different than asking his opinion and, what he thinks of giving tenure to this person. Yeah. No, the rebuttal, of course, you can do when they have the democracy.
I guess they say, like, we want to hear from the people who have the opposing view of, because he's espousing. I mean, it's a justification. And I think that's the problem, though. You can't get, like, for example, he says at one point that you cannot imagine anybody with a tenured position espousing these views, and he's kind of right. I mean, besides Noam Chomsky, how many, like, majority of academia is extremely conservative.
Yeah.
I mean,
or at least conservative in what they say. I mean, in that sense, they don't
in their political belief,
but also like very careful when they're talking, like, to not alienate
that
people.
That too. Yeah.
Be professional, kind of.
Yeah. In their claims, conservative, as well as, I think, their political beliefs. So he's right. Like, universities have been cleared out of, I mean, Christian Parenti talked about, how even his father, Michael Parenti, it's just.
Yeah. So people,
it's expect, but at this, but on the things, I mean, I don't recall, to be honest, the written aspect about Mossad. What I do recall is the plagiarism claims, which are clearly proven, and the exaggeration of number of people I think no, it was an exaggeration. It was the opposite. He decreased the number of Palestinians who died in 1940s or 60s. It was something along those lines. And if I think any objective person would be able to tell that Norman Finkelstein is clearly on the right. But at the same time, I must say, I do agree a bit with Noam Chomsky that maybe it was like he focused so much on this plagiarism aspect, then that it kind of distracted from the main issue of the book of the case for Israel, which Norman Finkelstein could have, I think, he didn't argue the main argument. He focused on how academically shallow Alan Dershowitz was, which Noam Chomsky, among others, said that maybe it was a tactical mistake.
And I love how Alan Dershowitz refers to his own book as an important book. He's like, which was an important book.
In the beginning, I've written over 80 books. I'm hoping to write 10 more. And by the way, did you see how much Emily was trying? Because at some point,
Emily likes him.
Seems he gets defensive. No, we are upset that you're not. Nobody talks to you in Martha's Vineyard. We are very upset about that.
A non-prosecution deal that was.
But anything else on this interview?
Again, so I love how he had, his answers were clearly prepared and practiced with the lawyers beforehand. No, in 1952, when I was going with a walk with my wife, was the first time that somebody gave me massage. I didn't get a massage since 1999. It was so specifically detailed. It was interesting. Very interesting.
That was really funny. Okay, Sam. So what's this video about?
From now on, hilarity, I think, ensues. But just play. I want to see your live reaction. He hasn't seen this. I think some people know what's the story about. But,
okay.
Maybe it was the New York Times.
Somebody else? No, it was another right-wing site.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they leaked it, and James O'Keefe was reportedly very upset that it had leaked. Now, Ashley Biden allegedly wrote about taking...
Sorry, just before, I should have given you some background. Biden's daughter's diary was apparently stolen and was leaked to Project Veritas, this right-wing weird organization. So go back 10 seconds and play again. But then now,
reported by Project Veritas, right?
Maybe it was the New York Times.
Somebody else? No, it was another right-wing site.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they leaked it, and James O'Keefe was reportedly very upset that it had leaked. Now, Ashley Biden allegedly wrote about taking, quote, probably not appropriate showers with my dad. Listen, the point of bringing this up in the context of the Zuckerberg conversation is that if you want to go for a French model,
What? Let me watch.
No. What? Did you hear that?
Yeah. I'm in shock.
They don't talk about that for the rest of the show.
Really? Stop.
No, it's all about freedom of speech and French model. I thought she's going to talk about French models, as in if you want a French model, why would you go for it? Or so, but no, she talks about freedom of speech in a French sense or in an American sense.
There is no clear way to know whether any of this is Russian disinformation. The intelligence community signed this letter where you had all of these high-profile.
Did they just mistakenly edit two stories together?
No,
Hold on a second.
They leaked it, and James O'Keefe was reportedly very upset that it had leaked. Now, Ashley Biden allegedly wrote about taking, quote, probably not appropriate showers with my dad. Listen, the point of bringing this up in the context of the Zuckerberg conversation is that if you want to go for a French model, there is no clear way to know whether any of this is Russian disinformation.
What is she just trying? Is she playing a game where she's just trying to name European countries naturally within a sentence?
It's
I get it.
We're talking about Facebook. what is going on? What is showers with my dad? Probably not. I mean, unless your dad is a cripple and you don't have like money to support you. You know what I mean? Like, what is? I mean, and do you think it matters? Because I don't know. It's like this type of thing is super. Like, I think it's as weird as it can get, right? Like childhood stuff or family weird stuff like that. But then again, at the same time, you look at history, some of the best rulers were either pedophiliacs or rapists. Like there is that one like ruler famous in like, I think North Africa, Muslim ruler, famously a rapist. Like he didn't see a boy he didn't want to rape. And then also famously like one of the best builders, all these aqueducts to this day you see it from his grace. So it's so weird. I don't know, does it matter, does it not matter?
No, of course it matters, but
it should be covered.
Biden is not Biden isn't doing anything too great either. He canceled a few thousand in student debt.
Yeah, Biden sucks, but
not gonna go down as a great ruler.
No, but let's say MBS, like, somebody like that chops people up, but then supposedly is going to.
Well, that's how it is, you can compartmentalize stuff, separate things.
So you think it's okay then?
What? No, I don't think what they're doing is okay.
Yes. No, yeah, you think it's worth it, right?
No, I don't. Because I don't buy your theory, though. Because I don't buy your theory.
No, I asked.
that the two come
answer.
together always.
No, I don't explain further. We can move on. I got my answer. It's worth it. Come here.
Okay, but I really don't want to move on because the next segment.
It's so fun. Come
on. I'm already bored.
Go to YouTube.
I'm already bored.
No, jeez. So Nina Turner's show is apparently already like she's releasing teasers of her. It's officially coming in October. But
she's already verified at 3,000.
Yeah,
subscribers.
It was 2007, by the way, a week ago. So she was. Yeah. Anyway, but she also, I like to point out that, Walter, I think, put a comment that, as somebody who's actually professionally in production, I think production matters when we talked about TYT and stuff. I think it matters too. I just don't understand how they can have that many people and that many times talk about production, and then this is their fucking ads.
But I feel like she did this by herself. But watch.
This is clearly her.
What is the role and the responsibility of government, especially when it comes to ensuring that we have clean air, clean water, and clean food? But let me talk about water for a moment. Flint, Michigan. Hopefully we are all old enough to remember the contamination of the water in Flint, Michigan that put 100,000 residents in peril. And peril is the right word, in danger.
But yeah, so I think she recorded this at home. And then, they just added these things for her.
I know, I'm so happy it seems whoever was doing her dress during the campaign is still working. So it's well done.
But why is she on a separate channel? This makes no sense.
Go to comments. Go to comments. It's fantastic.
Oh, there's one video of her did much better.
That's the trailer. Trailer. No. But go to the one you were playing, the first one. Go to the comments.
Danger.
Just to see the reaction. Just let's see what are some of the reaction.
It seems to be positive. This is incredible. Go Nina. We need you to run as the president of the United States of America. Anybody whose channel at any point, even on the first day, has 3,400 subscribers should not run for president.
Come on, man. We are still young.
I'm starting to think I'm more popular than Nina Turner. It's more famous. I'm like, seriously, let's count.
You have more organic support, truly. I think you do.
I can name 3 people. How many do you have, Nina?
Man, I swear to God, they deleted some of the comments. There were a lot of negative comments.
Oh, here you go. Well, here's the negative one, but Yeah, it's kind of, I'm on page 8. No, I'm joking. No, I mean, but
All
yeah,
right,
but I mean, I don't know how somebody could want watch. I mean, this video, yeah.
I mean, look, man, maybe her content would be good, but so far it looks very bad.
Highly doubt it. I mean, it's TYT. Best case scenario, she's going to be in TYT Studios.
She's going to be part of the network, man. Don't you get it? Part of the network. I think TYT is turning into an MLM. Like you buy 5, like, 5 subscribe, 5 spots on our show as a guest host. And then, I don't know, it does feel a bit like that. So.
But okay. Let's move on from this. Okay, this video, the title of the video is "He's Putting My Life in Danger." And I've tried listening to this video, but I never understood is what's his name?
Ben Norton.
Him.
Jackson Hinkle.
Oh, is Jackson saying that Ben is putting his life in danger, or Ben is saying that Jackson is putting his life in danger?
No, he's saying Ben is putting my life in, which is so funny because he always comes, at least it seems to me, he pretends to be somewhat of a tough guy. I mean, he's close with that weird guy I once played you a video about. That was the lefty guy who said, "Come at me, bro." Bro. I was like wearing tank top with his hair, and he's like the whitest Lebanese person you can see in the whole world. And he's like, "Is this because of my race? Is this because it's like reminded me so much of Ali G's old sketch that is like, is it because he's black? Is it because he's black? But play the first 20 seconds.
Ideas that he puts forward and the things that he says about people like myself and others that I care very deeply about are the sorts of words that get people killed. And I had countless death threats in my DM, and ideas that he puts forward and the things that he says about people like myself and others that I care very deeply about are the sorts of words that get people killed. And I had countless death threats in my DMs on Twitter. These liberal leftists that are saying this on the internet, they don't care because they actually want people to do this to you. So if this is what Ben truly believes, then I want you to know that, because this is what he had to say about Alexander Dugin today. Keep in mind, his daughter was killed just days ago. Did
you say pause?
Yeah. I love that. If that's what Ben really thinks, I want you to know that. Okay, go to minute 10 for the next scene, which kind of explains what Ben said.
Okay.
Sorry.
Minute 10?
Yeah, exactly minute 10.
A proto-fascist, which I don't even know what that means, because I label myself as such, and I am willing to welcome people who might have otherwise abhorrent views on issues that I care deeply about, but on the issues I care deepest about, they have stances that agree and line up with mine. So Ben is, again, someone that I refuse to engage with because I respected a lot of the work he's done, but he's been out on podcasts calling me a proto-fascist, and the reason why I chose to respond to it, and maybe people who don't have a persona on the internet don't really understand, but let me explain it to you quite simply. The reason why Daria Dugina was killed is because she was made in Alexander Dugin, who likely was an assassination, target as well through this car bombing, were made into the boogeymen, the fascist, nationalistic, alt-right boogeymen behind Putin's war in Ukraine. As a result of that, whether it was the Ukrainian government or extremist terrorists acting upon their own right, who had politically motivated ambitions, decided to kill Daria Dugina, who's an intellectual and a philosopher. I have people calling me a proto-fascist, calling me a fascist, just for funsies, because they think they think they can score cheap political points upon me because I decide to work with people regardless of what their political label is. And this has real world ramifications. One time, Hassan Piker, who's a very popular liberal streamer, came out and said that I was a fascist, and he called me Jackson Pol Pot Hinkle. And this was related to a completely, unrelated debate and subject. But he came out on his stream in front of, what does he stream to? Like maybe 30,000, 40,000 people. And this is what he called me. As a result of that, I woke up moments later. I slept in late that day, and I woke up after his stream started, and I had countless death threats in my DMs on Twitter. And so this is the real world ramifications. These people, these liberal left.
But I don't get the. I mean,
the guy, by the way, who's half of his whole thing is about freedom of his speech and all that.
Yeah.
And somebody just message us. Are you up?
I mean, to anybody who's, you can't be, we always say this for everything else too. It's really not fair being like, oh, people who heard what you're saying, you are responsible for their actions. So, responsible for the actions of your followers or fans. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean,
he kind of feels like this whole. I mean, I always forget to talk about you about this, but his whole thing with Owen Higgins is about the fact that Owen Higgins says that when I called him, he made his voice deeper and he didn't have a spokesperson. He says he recorded that call. He was recording that call. He says he has a video. He hasn't published the video. But sometimes, it's kind of like, somebody's lying when they give you too many weird details. Like, I slept very late that night. All of this. It's just so weird. Anyway, I don't know if I don't care if he's lying or not. But there are people like in Palestine or in India or in Iran, frankly, or in Russia and Ukraine that are actually No,
but listen, it sucks. I'm sure it sucks to get death threats. I'm sure it sucks to get death threats. It's not fun. But I mean, what does that have to do with Ben Norton? Now, I don't even agree with, I don't even know whatever Ben Norton called them. I don't even know what that means either. So I'm not necessarily agreeing with Ben Norton, but I mean, Jackson Hinkle, of course, says, criticizes a lot of people. And those people probably also receive
a lot of worse things.
Yeah. So of course, if you're, breaking the law, freedom speech laws, which are, you're encouraging people to come and kill you, that's a different story.
Yeah, if you live in America or Western Europe, it's really, unless you do Julian Assange level, they don't come after you, it seems, right? So again, and then connecting himself to Daria Dugina, somebody who lives in a country currently at war, and this is so, oh my God, oh my God, this is how people get killed. I mean, Jesus Christ.
I mean, then no commentary or criticism should be done because, it would just lead to murder left and right. Aaron Mate and the Vanguard boys would be dead right now. But in the beginning, he also said something else really funny about, well, we didn't listen to it, but about like, that poor lady who got blown up and killed. Yeah. And he's
intellectual and philosopher.
Yeah, but earlier on he says and she was a great journalist and political scientist and stuff. I'm like, how do you know? I mean, maybe somehow by some metric that she was great.
Well, I think he's read up on the matter. It's just
perhaps. But even though it's a kind of hard thing to judge, even if you read up, you need to yourself interact and assess their work and look at it in order to know if they're good or not. It kind of reminded me when what's her name, Whoopi Goldberg was like, well, I mean, that was much worse when she was like, Jill Stein is a great doctor. No, she didn't just say Jill Stein's a doctor. She said, oh, she's a great doctor, terrific doctor.
My grandma's niece, the pain was she couldn't walk. Now she's running to the shops. No, but I don't know if I would put it that way.
Yeah, that's unfair. That's unfair.
I don't know if he's, but it's just the Karen, and there are just get over. And I think, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of even Ben Norton. He's one of those funny socialist guys who moves to.
Yeah, I mean, I never really consume his content.
They're but they're so genuine and they're so cute and all that. So you don't want to put them down or anything. But it's just I think I don't know. I don't think he has that much of a sway over the radicals. And kind of reminded me of Brian Stelter thing with the death threats. Can people who are issuing these fucking death threats, can you focus your attention to somebody more important. What are you doing with your life? Like you're Jackson Hinkle, like with 150 YouTube followers. Is this really the best use of your time? Even if you want to issue death threats, can't you like aim like Putin or something? Yeah, Jackson Hinkle, we're gonna go after him. After Hassan Piker. What is going like back in the days when people used to assassinate Franz Ferdinand? Now you're like getting death threats.
And by the way, tell your gardener as well. I got my eyes on him.
The guy who did the deliveries.
Yeah.
I'll go after him.
Oh, and your barber is next.
The barber of Putin. That's the real criminal.
But yeah, but hopefully
like
none of them are serious.
It's like a really powerful gang in front of you, and there's like the big guy, and you can't get fight with him, so you issue death threats to somebody.
You in there in the back.
I'm partially from Kashan, and they're famous for being basically like scaredy cats and all that. And there is a joke of a man coming back from Tehran to Kashan, getting angry, going on the roof, and it starts shouting towards Tehran like, "You motherfuckers, you're all evil," and stuff. And then his wife runs upstairs, and the wife is like, "Please calm down. There will be blood. There will be blood." And they're like one city away. Kind of feels like this, like, there will be blood. What blood? What are you talking about?
That was funny. Okay, nice.
Iranian old man jokes.
All right, let's move on from Jackson to this. Now, this is terrific. So we have, what's his name again?
Too much fun. Caleb.
Okay.
Caleb Maupin.
He says some things for Iran. I believe the stuff that he says for Iran, you shouldn't need anybody to rebuke it or to like provide counterfacts and examples, even if you've never even heard of Iran. Like what he's talking about is doesn't really exist anywhere. But okay, that makes more sense. So he's in Iran here. And of course, he's next to Alex Dugin. Yeah, I think it's a conference. But it's at minute 1, right? But yeah, sure.
No, it's at play 0 to minute 2.
Okay.
This is the first 2 minutes.
All right, but yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And then we can talk. And he's in the news also for sexual misconduct, but we'll talk about that in the thing. I'll tell you about it.
Yeah, true. I didn't know that.
Play the first 2 minutes.
Okay, let's watch the first 2 minutes.
I only speak for myself when I'm here. But I find this moment to be somewhat pivotal for me. To be sitting here next to Alexander Dugin. The first time I heard the name Dugin, it was thrown at me as an epithet. And it was in 2014. And at that time, I was a card-carrying member of a Marxist-Leninist political party. And at that time, folks will recall the overthrowing of the elected government of Ukraine and the installation of a pro-Western regime. And as that was taking place, I, based on my understanding of how to understand the world and the training that I'd received as a Marxist-Leninist, it appeared to me that what was happening should be opposed, and that that the forces in the East who were resisting this regime being imposed by the West, they should be supported. And around that time, a number of people began to denounce me in left-wing circles. I was called a Nazbol. I was called a Strasserist. And one of the favorite epithets that people began throwing at me was I was called a Duginist. And I did not know what a Duginist was. I did not know who Alexander Dugin was. So I had to look into this. I had to look it up. And around that time, I was also traveling. In 2014, I first visited the Islamic Republic of Iran. I attended a conference in Iran. And I was in Iran, and I saw in Iran a society that had broken free from Western capitalism. Their national industries were under the control of the public. The oil was under the control of the public. The banking was under the control of the public. The state was working to mobilize the population to raise the living standards. It seemed to have broken free from this free market capitalist system that we had in the West. And when I was in Iran, I remember at this conference I attended, many of the guests from around the world said to me, "You've got to read the writings of Alexander Dugin."
Man, so I mean, yeah, forget everything he says about Dugan. Who cares about all that or what he
Man,
says on Ukraine,
yeah.
and all that. The Iran stuff, that was just 10 seconds of the funniest
The
bullshit I've ever
bullshit.
heard.
Man, he got fucked in Iran. Like he just goes on to say he got like. You remember we talked about it? He once said, "I told you, yeah, in Iran." What the fuck are you talking about? What is he talking about? What
Under
is
the
it?
control
I think
of the
he's referring
public.
to I think he's referring to nationalism. Many countries have nationalized industries,
Yeah,
including
as
army
France
industries.
broken
Doesn't mean
broken
doesn't mean
away from the capitalist
yeah.
system.
Capitalist yoke, you have your Eastern ways have overcome the capitalist mind. What is your Eastern mystery? I mean, I'm pretty sure he got like to Iran and they basically told him money doesn't matter. $1 means 1 to 1. Give me your dollars. Like I mean, Iran's really fucked him, and that's how I know Iran really fucked him is that. But before moving on, just to be, I love the compulsory ex-KGB sort of assassin that has to be to any like Iranian. Who's that guy sitting next to Dugin? He's clearly like ex-assassin. He's got like mustache. He's like half like Tsar era, like escapee to like
Yeah.
and half assassin, whatever. But yeah, Caleb Maupin also, it turned out this week that he's been, I don't know the specific allegations, to be honest. It was the longest article ever, but he deleted his Twitter page because I think he's married. But but I think it was mostly he used his position of power within some really like a small shitty organization to sleep with women.
Oh,
I
really?
think. But then again,
Card holding Marxist Lenin. With the card
he used his card for evil. He used it to
Man, the shit on Iran though. Like, I mean, if anybody watching this and think like, no, we should like provide some arguments or figures or something,
please
let us know, I guess, next time.
Really,
but I mean, I don't
to.
know what to say or what to start or what he means.
No,
Even quite frankly, what he said, if that such a thing makes sense. If you tell me that about anywhere in the world, I'll be like bullshit. I mean, like, I'll be like, what do you mean? Like, what you're saying doesn't make sense.
I would.
Are you talking about like a small, I don't know, community of 50 people who like follow something, some kind of culture? But what are you talking? I mean, of course, societies vary in different ways, but yeah.
There is much higher, I would say, like complacent, just general okayness in Russia and in China. You know what I mean? I do feel that, and maybe that's kind of misleading to Europe.
What do you mean?
You know what I mean? Because the Chinese government has been extremely effective. It's much more effective than like Iranian regime is. By the way, Iranian government's economic policies are all largely neoliberal. Like, don't let anybody fool you.
Yeah.
It's just like, we contract. A state owns everything. They just contract everything now. So, and that way, your cousins and stuff can get a job too.
And what about the military owning stuff and all that? I mean, how do you see that?
Yeah. And then in Russia, they had such a bad period that there is a general sort of, at least the segment of society, kind of like Turkey, are really happy with Putin and Erdogan. Iran has been like 40 years of downhill, partially because of governments. I would say mostly because of government, but partially because of sanctions. So the general disagreement towards them is just way higher, I would say, compared to these places.
I see.
But
yeah, I've never thought of it.
I would say it's very similar to Europe and America, though, from my experience talking and watching media and like it's more along those lines. Like everybody's nagging all the time but not doing anything about it. So
I see. And so these ones are related to it, no?
Yeah, this is like a couple of days ago, apparently, before the sexual allegations came to life and came to light from his Twitter that has now been deleted, sorry. And this is his wife who's the real victim, to be honest. Because to me, a lot of those stories, it was so long, people need to explain it to me, but it didn't seem like he was, well, yeah, listen, this is from ages ago, apparently. And no one should be punished, but it goes against my beliefs as a Christian section. Yeah, he was a Christian too. If you play that video, he goes on to say about, yeah, he was Christian beliefs as well, and he came to
Jesus
social.
Christ.
Man, it's so weird. What? And in sexual stuff, it's a spanking, and not that anything's wrong with that, but you know, he's got spanking. Apparently, he wanted somebody to reenact his childhood sort of thing with his dad or something. So it's just, it's interesting.
Jesus.
It's not very substantive, this part. It's more for fun, but I'm interested to see what happens. If somebody has read the whole goddamn, it was like, yeah, I couldn't.
I see. Yeah, I mean, I barely know much about him, and yeah, definitely didn't know about
It's just
this
it was an
article.
excuse for me to bring up the whole Iran part.
No, that
because
was a
I found
brilliant
that
clip.
so
That was
funny.
surreal. I wonder what others watching this think.
Freedom from
But
capitalism.
okay, let's move on to another unrelated but interesting clip as well. All right, Sam. So let's talk a little about social media. A few funny stories here, which we largely disagree with. But first, we can, make our way into that with this clip that's been circulating for Joe Rogan's interview with Mark Zuckerberg. Have you seen anything else? Have you watched the full thing by any chance, or?
No, just the clip, just this part about the whole.
Okay, so everyone's seen it, so maybe we'll play like a minute of it.
Sure.
When they're a big news item that's controversial. Like there was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story. The New York
we
Post.
had that too.
Yeah, so you guys censored that as well?
So we took a different path than Twitter. I mean, basically the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like you should be on high alert. There was we thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant.
They're so like casual with a topic like this, the way you're talking. He's like, "Did you guys censor that too?" He's like, "Yeah, let me give you the full background." And he's like,
I think he was doing a Columbo, wasn't he? He was doing a but one more thing. Did you censor that?
You
that
think
was
so?
his tactic.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. But
and did you cheat on your wife? Let me give you the context. So it was, I was alone.
A bunch of guys came to my house with a hoe. Okay.
And then the FBI came over. They told me to, So
they didn't say censor this story. They said any story that involves Russia, Biden, or Hunter. So no, but it does make sense though. That does. I mean, if
makes sense?
We think, I mean, the deep states would, that's how would they censor, because that leaves them plausible deniability. We are not saying you this story. We are saying you this. It's kind of like we are not. Somebody left a great comment about what we said about the, war crimes and stuff. We are not telling you to commit war crimes, but this village needs to be clear. Like, well, I mean, how else do you clear that?
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
I mean, but at the same time, when sometimes you read about, leaks from reality and stuff, it turns out to be much stupider than like, no, literally they're telling him, look, listen to me, Zach, they'll kill you. That's Mark Zuckerberg.
Zach Zuckerberg. Yeah. But let me give you the context. So our protocol is like, unlike Twitter, we didn't ban it.
Our protocol is different from Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share this at all. We didn't do that. What we do is we
just drowned it.
If something is reported to us as potentially misinformation, important misinformation, we also have this third-party fact-checking program because we don't want to be deciding what's true and false. And for I think it was 5 or 7 days when it was basically being determined whether it was false, the distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it, you could still consume it.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
it got shared.
How does that work?
It basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less. So fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely...
By what percentage?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's meaningful. But I mean, but basically a lot of people were still able to
surprised me with like how open he was with his response to this question, though.
I was prepared, I guess. I'm guessing, but
yeah,
and it's again, it kind of, that's been the company's long time. They're like, we don't want this responsibility, and I think they're right. Criminal justice needs to, for anybody who's doing anything illegal online, we have criminal justice. But at the same time, I don't know what there has to be, I guess, the only thing that is a bit of a gray area is porn content, because that's freedom of speech covers that. But then at the same time, you don't want a platform that platform for everybody that is constant, So,
but there are rules and ways around it. So with agents,
well, that's exactly. But if you just say if it's just freedom of speech, then all those rules would go, and a lot of times they go after freedom of speech through rules that are made to limit, for example, child pornography. You know what I mean? So that's a bit, that part is a bit, hard to draw the line. But they're trying to get off the responsibility off of their shoulders, because it's in their financial benefit in the current ecosystem, at least. Maybe not. But but it was so funny that I love how Joe Rogan, whenever he Google Analytics and Sport Analytics, what percent? Give me the bottom line. What did you benchmark against 6 different company top? It gets so detailed, like a professor. Okay, you're right, man. He's my analytics guy. They should have brought the head of analytics.
And just one more quick question: what was your testosterone level at this time? Okay, and now? Okay.
How many elk jerkies do you eat? Like, do you think it's enough? Or... So, tell me, stories relating to deprivation of sensory tanks, are they being pushed down? I feel like they're being pushed down. You're super saunas. What about saunas? Elk related stories.
Okay. And then, what is going on here? TikTok is bad for your brain.
So this is really disappointing.
Busting the attention span myth. Okay, this is from 27.
I was looking for a very bad article to read, just to because I had a discussion with the neurologist who I shout out to my resident retained neurologist. She provides me with advice, because it's kind of like the transsexual thing and all that. It was the attention span debate, and is TikTok, are we getting addicted to social media? You said something interesting about Europe, which I hope you touch on. But the Science Times,
what did I say?
Had this about the France and Swiss radio.
Yeah. True, that was funny. Not interesting, it was funny. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, it was funny. So. But yeah, I think it's overblown largely. I think it's, to be honest, it's largely a mixture of moral panic and sort of people who want to do censorship of media. It's a combination of that. And this is from the Science Times. And if you read, it's quite awful in my view. But then I wanted to go to the busting the myth of, because I think that's a very good article.
But I mean,
I think we may have referred to it once before.
I mean, I completely agree with you. Now, listen, actually, the article has something funny in it. They say constant social media streaming. So, I mean, like anything else, if you overdo it,
I'll get into the science of it.
It's not good, of course. And of course, it takes away time from you doing other more productive stuff. Sure. I mean, as a form of entertainment, it's a form of entertainment. So it's not the world's most productive thing at all times. Sure.
I'll get really scientific about it, but go down, just read the first paragraph because it showcases the scientific nature of this paper.
TikTok has
No, sorry, go down, goes I mean, that one is awful too, but there is another paragraph. Oh, here, TikTok's short video.
this one.
Yeah, the TikTok's a short video format.
Where is that? Here. Okay. TikTok's short video format has been linked to decrease in attention span. According to an article in The Independent, those who use the app for over 90 minutes can narrow the collective attention span over time. Every day there are new trends on TikTok.
No, it's just I love The Independent as a source. I mean, they go on to actually cite it kind of a real study, the accelerating dynamics of collective
but
attention.
this is different. This is not like this is The Independent.
They're citing The Independent, the British outlet, I think.
Yeah.
This is The Independent. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so, right?
Yeah. This is something else.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, they do mention some studies, but they also, cite a couple of really idiotic, sources. But then if you go to the BBC article, you'll see that, as they say, scientists don't really maybe it's becoming now something that scientists look at because of funding and all that, but it's not
so
a
let's
real
read a
scientific
few
thing.
You probably won't get to everyone. That's funny. You probably won't get to the end of this article. Everyone knows their attention spans are getting shorter. That's funny. In the always connected world of social media, smartphones and hyperlinks in the middle of everything you read, it can feel that much harder to stay focused. And there are statistics too. They say that the average attention span is down from 12 seconds in the year 2000 to 8 seconds now. That is less than the 9-second attention span of your average goldfish.
Get out.
You might have seen those stats, blah. But if you've paid a bit more attention to where stats come from, the picture is much less clear. All those references lead back to a 2015 report by the Consumer Insights team of Microsoft Canada, who surveyed 2,000 Canadians and also studied the brain activity of 112 people as they carried out various tasks. However, the figure that were picked up on about a shrinking attention span did not actually come from the Microsoft research. It appears in the report, but with a citation for another source called Statistic Brain. A quick Google and easy to find where they got it from. The Statistic Brain website looks pretty trustworthy too. It even says they love numbers, their purity, and what they represent. Just the kind of people with whom we more or less can get along. As if to prove it, the number lover statistics source all their figures, but the sources are infuriatingly vague. And when I contact the listed sources, the national blah, 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 neither can find any record of research that backs up the stats.
I mean, this is from 2017. So since then, who knows? But this at least gives you, I think...
average attention span is pretty meaningless. So this is, she's talking to who? Psychology lecturer. It's very much task dependent. Amen. How much attention we apply to man? The other day, my parents were here, and with my dad, we played chess. And I'm not good at chess, and I really have to focus, and I'm really shitty and stuff. And then my brain got really tired quickly, within the game, and then I lost focus. So my attention span was much less than a million other activities that I do, and my attention span is much longer. So definitely the task dependent thing. And I would say the same thing about ADHD. I never understand, maybe someone can explain, or I can look it up somewhere, how you can, if you have ADHD, you should be across the board, right? You can't just in classes not be able to focus, but in other areas you'd be able to focus. I don't know.
And I am highly suspect ADHD and dyslexia are both highly suspicious to me, as it does feel like you're just describing people I can't tell the difference between somebody who has
Yeah,
usually,
ADHD. Yeah.
I mean, there are some cases I've seen, not in real life, that are really extremes, but not.
Yeah, this
most
is
people
interesting. Yeah, how we apply attention to different tasks depend very much about what the individual brings to that situation. We've got a wealth of information in our heads about what normally happens in a given situation, what we can expect, and those expectations and experience directly mold what we see and how we process information any given time. Interesting. It turns out there's no evidence that goldfish are practically short attention. The goldfish is like, when the fuck did you study us? 0.21 goldfish was studied. Ask my cousin. And, none of us were consulted.
All
Check
the
my
information
emails,
about the
no
fish
surveys.
came from a single study in the frozen lakes of Canada. All the fish were dead. They don't have any attention span. Yeah.
Yeah, and here she goes and speaks to a scientist who studies fish.
Yeah, that's it.
I just wanted to make it to the end of this story also, so we're not like
just because of
it didn't say anything, but you have to read everything.
Whenever usually somebody puts something like that in the first paragraph, I tend to, out of spite, be like, okay, I'm not going to finish.
No, but that was funny. They were trying to be funny here, though. Trying to be.
Yeah, this was good. Yeah,
sarcastic.
It was related to the topic.
Yeah, but nice. We did some good jobs of. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to briefly get into the science of it. From what I understand from my discussions with the doctor, there are, you can get addicted in two ways, basically, right? You have two types, one is that you have these things called neurotransmitters in your brain, apparently. Again, I'm not sure about them. But you have neurotransmitters in your brain, and the drugs like nicotine, opioid, cocaine, and alcohol, they increase the sites of neurotransmitters in your brain. And then it's very difficult to, basically you need to, that's why, for example, she said that you want to get heroin addicts off of heroin, you replace it with methadone or tramadol or something, that right? Mm-hmm. So you replace it. So that's like the physical addiction. Then you have drugs like weed and, for example, coffee. And I don't know about coffee. I didn't ask her about coffee. I'm just using coffee from my own head. But what I asked her about was that, like we talk about sports giving you dopamine hits, right? Is that the same sort of thing as, for example, social media use? And she was like, she said we classify running as a positive behavior. So, yes, it's the same thing. It's just that as human beings, we classify some things as bad and some things as good. So when they say social media is addictive, if they caveat that by saying, well, in a sense that anything can be addictive, anything can rewire, they keep talking about rewiring your brain. It's basically getting used to that sort of getting used to that rush of positive feeling. And well, that can happen with it's not, I think it's wrong to muddy the waters by implying that like opioid addiction, heroin addiction is the same as social media addiction.
Yeah,
some
100%.
people write about social media addiction. I mean, talk about the European thing, but some people write about it as if it's been like as if they're like in the struggle in putting aside heroin or that type of thing. So
yeah, no, 100% agree with you there. But yes, I see the distinction you're drawing there. But so you've stopped reading now. Now you just ask this doctor questions.
Yeah, it's so much easier. It's for medical stuff, because medical doctors don't have these weird social questions that we do have. So they kind of, for them it's a bit natural, like they know it already. So yeah, it's so much easier because it's hard to find papers that address what I'm asking, or like I don't even know the right way to ask because I don't know the functions or whatever. So much easier.
True.
But
okay.
Tell people about Europe before I tease them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I forgot shit. That didn't come up naturally somehow in the conversation. I thought it would have, but no, I was just like listening to the radio and they were talking about like how social media is like slavery. As in the sense that you can be enslaved. No, not slavery, enslaved really. So you can be enslaved, which is like the same thing to
Like how
social
we were
media. I
enslaved
was
to
just
television.
yeah, just I mean, shocking language.
Somewhat.
Stupid language. But yeah, okay. So I guess that's the show for today. Thank you for watching. Please leave your comments, question, criticism down below. Make sure to get to them. If not, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video. Thank you.